So what most people do is they teach their dogs the exercises, right, for the class. So they teach themselves, in this case, it's utility, all the utility behaviors. But then they go in the ring and the dogs really struggle. And a lot of times that's because of the pieces in between, right? So like here, for example, this is a tough ring entrance because look at all the chaos and the ring entrance is over there. So you need to have that trained so that when your dog goes into the ring and it has to go through all that, um, your dog, you've taught it in a way so your dog's happy and confident and has a good attitude, right? You need to train your transitions. So I train taking the leash off, and transitioning to the first exercise. Okay, now I have two different dogs. They're completely and utterly different. How does Zesty transition? I don't love it, but this is what he does. So what I showed you just there was Zena. That's how all my dogs have transitioned. He does not want to look at me on the transition. See, clearly I told him to look at me. He's like, yeah, no. All right, he's not being obstinate. He's a really good dog that tries super hard. He just kind of can't do it. But I've trained it so that as soon as I say to him, this is what we're doing, boom, he's locked on and ready to go. All right. So directed jumping exercise. So the exercise ends and we don't have very far to go. We pretty much set up right there for the moving stand. That's hard for dogs if you don't train that, right? They just got done there. There was pressure. The judge is moving in on the dog. Now all we do is turn around and now, oh God, the judge is going to do that horrible, awful thing where they rudely walk up to us and touch us. Yikes. Right, so again, and see the steward came in, the judge is here, there's pressure behind, there's pressure everywhere. So you want to have that trained. Okay, so I've trained just turning, I've trained giving my dog a pre-cue that helps the dog with get ready for the next exercise. So let's see if I did anything different with Zesty. So I did a different release for him because I needed him to have a moment away from all that pressure. Zena did not. She's fine. She's a different dog, so I handle them differently, right? I move him up, I tell him what I'm going to do, and now he's ready to go. So I had to take some pressure off for him. I did not have to do that for her. She didn't care. And so you have to know your dog and how you train. So here, exercise finished. And our next exercise is right there. Now there's going to be, it's gloves. There's always a long delay. Have you trained for that delay? There's a long delay because I set my dog up. I was just lining myself up to glove 2. And now we have to wait. Now we're sitting here. There's an enormous amount of dead time while the person comes and puts the judge out, puts the gloves out. And the whole time, usually the judge is standing there. Now, the judge is not close to me. To a dog, that feels like the judge is really close in the ring. Everything is magnified. Still sitting, still sitting, still sitting, and that's where we lose our dog. So you can't really tell, but I'm communicating with her, right? I'm talking to her. I'm not chattering. I'm giving her information that she understands, right? I'm just reassuring her. I'm like, yep. You're looking at me, perfect. You're not looking at her, good girl, what a good job. That's what works for her, what I've developed with her over the years. She's very seasoned. Everything I do with her is very, very, very subtle. So subtle you can't even really see it in here. But the point is, I've done something. I've trained her to do something. Okay. Zesty is a little different. Let's see. Pretty sure he does a little more obvious. So there, like I'm calming him, then I'm keeping him actively engaged so he's bouncing. See, because he's already like, oh God, because he hates all this pressure. Zaina's been doing this a lot longer. She's more bomb-proof, right? So it was more obvious. I was asking him for some bounces, but I'm also talking to him here very quietly, just enough to reassure him so that he's ready to go. But that is absolutely 100% trained, right? My dog, I've built up in their ability to sit still or sit still with just minimum movement for a length of time, and taught it like it's a trick so that I don't lose my dog in that spot, okay? All right, so now we have to go exercise finished. I don't do big releases with her. She'll start barking. All right, so we're transitioning over to where we're going to do the articles. Now, this is just me. My dogs know the whole procedure because I train all the tiny little pieces. So when he puts the articles out, all I need to do is just say to my, you saw she didn't even look. I just say to her, we're doing articles. She's like, yeah. She doesn't look. What a lot of people do is they stand there and they're like, articles, look at the article. And if you look at the dog, the whole time the dog's like, oh God. What am I supposed to be staring at? Like, I'm just supposed to stare at the articles? That makes no sense to a dog. Like, what am I looking at? Stop, mom, stop leaning on me. Whatever, and that kind of makes the dog flat. So I just, I do this in training all the time, even when I'm by myself. I just say to the dog, we're doing, so there I was just waiting for the judge to pass me. The way I stand with my hands on my hips, my dogs understand that's like a more of a relaxed hang tight cue. It's all been trained. Every piece of it has been taught, trained, and practiced to the nth degree, just as much as the exercises. So now I told her what we were doing, turn around, and now there's going to be an enormous amount of dead time, right? Enormous amount. And this is actually nice. We're facing a wall. A lot of times the articles will be here, we'll be facing the table or people watching or moving around, and the dog's like, oh God, like, I know I'm not supposed to look, but this is really hard. So I train this. So again, that petting is trained. It's a calming and reassuring cue that she understands, right? I make sure she's in the right headspace, so I keep reassuring her, you're good girl, waiting for the judge to say, you can take your first article. All right, so that whole thing is trained because that's an enormous amount of time where people lose their dogs. Okay, so now same here, I'm scenting, boring, right? Dog's supposed to look at me, not look around, oh boy, right? So that's trained. I've trained that my dogs think sitting and staring at me is a trick that they like, and I've built up their endurance for it when I showed her the article. That's trained. All right, and now they have to wait for the judge to go out, put the article out, rearrange the pile, whatever, right? So there's a lot of dead time. So again, I've also trained that. You can see her pitter-patter her feet a little bit. I'm not saying anything. She's just doing that because she understands. She's like, come on, let's go, because she knows the game. The game is hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. See there again, she's like, let's go. That's what I want. I don't want my dog to be like, oh God, I'm dying. I want my dog to be like, let's go. So there you can see that when I turned to do the pivot and send her, she's in a good headspace. She's good to go. All right. So let's see if we did anything different with Zesty. Well, I know this transition is going to be different. He's kind of looking at, so I got him a little more enthusiastic on that transition because I know how hard the articles are, just for all the reasons I just explained, right? Same thing. He doesn't really even look at the articles because he's like, yeah, I know what we're doing. Reassuring him, that's trained. It's all trained and practiced, like I said, easily as much as I train and practice every exercise. So he was getting a little like unfocused. I showed him his article, which is again trained. I get him back, right? He's not as experienced. He just doesn't, he's less, Zaina isn't as worried about pressure. He is. So because when I taught him tricks in stationary position, he would get like really kooky crazy. So I taught him to just stare at me as a trick, which means when he's doing it, he's in the same emotional state as when he's doing a trick, super happy, right? But by default, the trick requires stillness. So he's still, which is what I want. He decided to offer that. So that's trained. Most dogs, as the longer they sit there, the more flat they get. I've trained my dogs, the longer you sit there, the more animated and pushy you get. So he's kind of like, all right, I know what's next. Let's go. And then when I pivot, boom, he's ready to go instead of being like flat and dying. All right. So we get through the articles. When the articles are done, there's always going to be a delay, a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to move from point A to point B when articles are done, but I know that the steward has to come out and take the articles. Now, this steward is actually really on the ball. He's really fast, right? So she finishes. And he immediately comes in the ring and goes and takes the articles. Sometimes stewards have a lot to do. They're distracted. There might be a little delay till they come in. Sometimes they can't move as fast. It takes them a little longer. So you have to have a plan for that. I know I need to set up in this corner over here, so I'm not going to rush over there. I'm going to take my time, making sure I have her. I'm going to have to go through here, which is a little bit of pressure. So I was off screen, but I'm taking my time. I planned that I was going to go, this is the setup point, past the setup point, do a left turn to the setup. She likes those. And then we're ready to go. So that was all planned out. All right, ahead of time, outside the ring, I make these plans. Like I know that there's going to be a delay, so I say to myself, how am I going to get from point A to point B? So I'm not rushing, because why am I going to rush over here? Then I'm going to just be static, sitting there waiting. I don't want to do that to my dog, so I'm taking my time. I'm going really slow with him. Talking to him. Then once we got through the pressure, I lightened up and let him be loose. See, I let him just do his little thing that he likes to do, which makes me insane. Because 99.9%, if a dog disconnects like that, they completely lose focus. And then it's a battle to get them back, and it bleeds into the exercise. He is that unicorn that does that because he's like, I need a mental break. And then as soon as I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing, he can instantly, which is extremely unusual, snap and go, okay, we're doing signals, which requires an insane amount of concentration. So typically I would never want my dog not focused leading into that, but that's how he is. Then I'm like, this is what we're doing. We're doing this exercise. And he's like, okay, got it. I'm ready to go. And you could see he moves immediately. He's focused. He's concentrating, moving with energy. So he's one of those rare creatures that can do that. In any event, the main point of this whole video is the pieces in between are going to determine whether or not you will have success with the actual exercise. Those pieces in between have to be individualized to your specific dog. More importantly, everything needs to be trained, choreographed, rehearsed ad nauseum, forever. And if you do that, then you are actually setting your dog up for success. But those pieces in between in all the classes, they're there in novice, they're there in open, they're there in utility. Super, super, super important.